Think about the last time you got genuinely angry, not mildly annoyed, actually angry. Now ask yourself one question. Was the anger actually about what triggered it? Or was something else already hurting underneath? Because psychology has confirmed something most people now realize. You are never angry about what you think you are angry about. Anger is always a secondary emotion. There is always something underneath it. And the real thing underneath is what you actually need to deal with. But we are going to get to that specific part in about 2 minutes. Because first you need to understand why your brain chooses anger in the first place. And the answer to that changes everything. And once you understand the primary emotion driving your anger, you stop reacting to the trigger and start seeing what's actually happening. But the primary emotion is only half of it. The second half is where it gets uncomfortable. Psychologist Les Greenberg at York University spent decades mapping this. He called it the primary secondary emotion distinction. Here's how to test it on yourself right now. Think of the last argument you had. What did you say you were angry about? Now go one layer deeper. What were you actually feeling before the anger hit? Hurt, dismissed, scared. That feeling underneath, that's the primary emotion. The anger was just protecting it. Angry when dismissed, primary emotion hurt. Angry when ignored, primary emotion fear of not mattering. Angry when criticized, primary emotion shame. Same anger, completely different root, completely different fix. But here's what nobody's telling you about the root emotion. Your brain didn't choose anger randomly. It chose it because at some point anger worked. And the moment is still running your relationships right now. We'll get to exactly how in 60 seconds, but first, right now, the last time you got angry at someone close to you, what was actually underneath it? Hurt, fear, shame. Drop one word in the comments, just one word. Your brain learned anger early before you had language for hurt. Before you could say, that dismissal made me feel invisible. You had one response available, anger. It worked, people backed off, situations changed. Your brain filed it under one rule. When the primary emotion gets too big, deploy anger. The problem is it kept working. So your brain never learned another way. Every time you feel hurt, anger. Every time you feel dismissed, anger. Every time you feel scared of losing something, anger. And the person in front of you has no idea what they actually triggered. Because neither do you. Now here's where it gets worse. Because the primary emotion isn't just driving your anger, it's driving every argument you've ever had that ended with both people feeling more disconnected than before. And once you see the specific mechanism, you'll understand why those arguments could never have ended any other way. That's in 60 seconds. Now maybe you're thinking, but sometimes I really am just angry about the thing. Les Greenberg's research found something specific about that. Disproportionate anger, where the reaction doesn't match the trigger, is always secondary. The more it escalates, the more something underneath is screaming to be heard. Here's the thing that changes every relationship you have. The person who hurt you most consistently probably isn't doing it intentionally. They are triggering a primary emotion you haven't named yet. And every time you respond with anger instead of naming what's underneath, two things happen. You push them further from understanding what you actually need. And you teach your brain that anger is still the only language available. The argument was never about the dishes, or the tone, or the thing they said. What those things signal to your nervous system. Disrespect, abandonment, invisibility. Pick your pattern. But naming what you are actually angry about is only half the fix. The second half, why naming it to the other person activates a completely different response in their brain. That's what actually ends the cycle, and that's what we are covering right now. In 60 seconds, the exact mechanism that interrupts the anger response before it escalates and why it works neurologically when nothing else does. Think about the relationship with the most conflict in your life. How many of those arguments were actually about the stated thing? And how many times did both of you leave more disconnected than before? Not because either of you was wrong, because neither got to the real thing. Unresolved primary emotions don't disappear, they accumulate until the smallest triggers carry the weight of every unspoken hurt. And the reason becomes impossible to explain even to yourself. Here's the complete answer to why you are never actually angry about what you think. Anger activates the threat response in another person. They go defensive. Communication closes. But naming a primary emotion, I felt dismissed when that happened. Activates empathy instead of defense. The other person's brain registers vulnerability, not attack, and a completely different conversation becomes possible. Dr. John Gottman at University of Washington confirmed this across 40 years of research. Couples who name primary emotions during conflict resolve at dramatically higher rates, not because they are calmer, because they are more honest about what's actually happening. Three things that break the anger cycle permanently. 1. Run the 10-second diagnostic before responding. Ask what I'm actually feeling underneath this. Hurt, fear, shame. Name it specifically. 2. Say the primary emotion instead of acting on the secondary. I felt invisible when that happened. Instead of, you always do this. Same truth, completely different impact on their nervous system. 3. When someone is angry at you, ask what they actually felt. Not to deflect, to get what's real. What did that actually make you feel? Changes the entire conversation. You are not an angry person. You are a person whose primary emotions never got a language. Give them one now. The anger was never the problem. It was the only signal your brain knew how to send. Now you have another one. If you want more videos that go underneath reaction to what's actually driving it, subscribe. That's the only thing this channel does.